All right, so we are recording, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa Lim. I'm a technology integration specialist for the district in the Learning Technologies Department, which is in the OTIS department, and OTIS stands for Office of Technology and Information Services, formerly known as IT. And as you can see on the slide deck that I'm sharing, that the shortened link to the slide deck is bit.ly/lim_collab-tools. And I've also pasted that in the chat so you can access it. And today's tools that we're going to talk about are Flipgrid, Jamboard, and Padlet. So these are the three creation and collaboration tools we're going to be talking about. There are many more tools that you have access to in the PPS digital toolkit, but we're only talking about these three, and we only have an hour. So we're not going to get really in depth into any of these three tools. I have examples for you to actually get in the tool and get a little sense of it. But if you're finding that one of these tools looks really interesting to you after you go into it for a little bit, then you're going to have some links that I included that will allow you to explore and go deeper on your own. So just in the chat, which of these tools have you used before, if any? How have you used them? Which tool is your favorite and why? And if you haven't used any of these tools before, which one interests you and why? So go ahead and spend a minute or two in the chat answering one or a couple of those prompts. A lot of people have heard of all of the tools, but haven't had time to look at any of them in depth. A lot of people interested in what they do. They're all very interactive. They're all pretty easy to use, as you'll see once we get started. Some people have had administrators at their schools using some of these tools and modeled them, so you've seen them that way, so that's great. All right, so you can keep adding to the chat. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement, and if you don't know what that is, it's a real simple, powerful way of showing respect and a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous people's history and culture, and it just invites honor and truth. So today, I respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Cowlitz bands of Chinook, Tualatin Kalapuya, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. Today, people from these bands have become part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, as well as the Chinook Nation and Cowlitz Nation in Washington State. And so you'll see those two links at the bottom, and those are links for you if you are interested in more information about the land that we're on and about land acknowledgements in general. So I would recommend that you check those out. All right, so let's just quickly talk about norms. So the first four norms here on the screen, of course, you want to be muted at any time during the time. If you have to ask a question, you're free to unmute yourself. If you are using earbuds, that's the best, especially if you unmute yourself, because sometimes you might get some feedback if you aren't using earbuds and you unmute yourself to talk, but it looks like everyone's okay in today's session. Any questions, please put them in the chat. And then if this session is not meeting your needs, please feel free to leave. I will not be offended at all. And I know that there are several other sessions happening exactly at this same time. So if you look at that Teacher Institute catalog, you could probably find something different that would meet your needs. And then these last 4 norms are really roles and responsibilities that I like to have during a virtual meeting, but I don't think we're going to do it we're not going to have those roles in today's session just because there's so many people, but I do want to go over them, and I'm going to ask the group to sort of be the crowdsource for some questions and stuff that come up. But the first role is the welcomer. So that person typically would welcome any new people that arrive, and they would just say hello in the chat and maybe give a summary of what's happened so far. The next role is the questioner. And so if a great question is posted in the chat and as the facilitator, I don't see it or I don't respond, the questioner can unmute their mic and alert me to the question. So I'm going to ask all of you to help me do that, because sometimes it's hard as one person to monitor all of that chat. So if you notice that there's a question that comes up repeatedly, please unmute yourself and just say, Melissa, there's this really great question that you haven't answered. So I'll be checking it periodically, but I'm not going to be able to keep my eyes on the chat the whole time. The next job is the linker. And I noticed Rosie already pasted the link in for me. But as you know, in Google Meet, if people enter the chat after I've already pasted that shortened link, they're not going to see it. So they only see the chat when they only see as much as when they enter it. And so if people can paste the links in and share resources, that's great. If I mention something or that looks really interesting and I talked about it, but I didn't have time to paste the link in, if somebody can do that, that would be awesome. And then the last job is the timekeeper. So that's just someone that gives me some kind of signal that we only have 5 or 10 minutes left, especially if there are a bunch of questions that haven't been answered that people have asked. And so I'm going to ask the group to please take on all of those roles and responsibilities as much as you feel comfortable. Thank you, Natalie, for posting those land acknowledgement links. That is awesome. So I really appreciate that. All right. And some people are still need to be admitted in the meeting. All right. So as I said, we're going to be talking about Flipgrid, Jamboard, and Padlet. And so the first tool we're going to look at is Flipgrid. And you can see here on the slide, there are some links to a remote learning guide and also a bunch of free PD opportunities that Flipgrid is providing to teachers. And it's funny, about, I think, 2.5 weeks ago, I received an email that said, welcome to the all new Flipgrid 2020. So if you have used Flipgrid in the past, but you didn't use it since school ended, I would recommend checking it out because they do have a bunch of new features. So let's actually watch this video for educators first.
Welcome to Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a simple, free, and accessible video discussion experience for pre-K to PhD educators, learners, and families. In Flipgrid, educators post discussion prompts and learners respond with short videos. To get started, go to flipgrid.com and click Educator Sign Up to create a free Flipgrid account with Microsoft or Google. Once you've signed up, start the discussion by creating your first topic. Your topic can reflect on a chapter of reading, demonstrate an exercise routine, share a hypothesis, anything. I'll make this as simple as share one of your favorite discoveries. Add anything you want your learners to review prior to responding, such as links and videos, to foster enriching inquiry. You can also set the maximum recording time and choose to moderate your topic, meaning video responses will be hidden from your community until you approve them. Your topic is private to your learning community. Add the email domain of your learners, that's everything after the @ symbol in their email, or create a student list for younger learners. Add a guest password if you want to invite families or experts into your discussion. When you're ready, share with your learning community. All they need is this unique code. They can enter the code on the free Flipgrid app or on any computer with a webcam via the Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome browser at flipgrid.com. You can also copy and share this Flipgrid join link wherever you connect with your community, including Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, and Remind. After clicking the unique link or entering the code, your learners will log in either with their Microsoft or Google account or the ID you created for them. Once in, they can see your prompt, access the text with the powerful immersive reader, and when they're ready, click record to add a video with the simple, fun, social media style Flipgrid camera. Share these steps with your community by sharing the Getting Started Students video.
All right, and you can see I've included the Getting Started for Students video there too, so you have that. And so now I've got a couple of examples here, and don't click on this Flipgrid link yet, because that's going to actually go to the Flipgrid for you to leave a video response. But I just want to show you an example that I found that I thought was great. So this kindergarten orientation example. So this is a school called Kings Park Elementary School. And I don't know where they're at, but for kindergarten orientation, they had all of their staff leave these Flipgrid videos for new incoming kindergartners. So they have messages from the assistant principal and principal, the kindergarten team, school counselors, the specialist team. And so I thought this was just a really great idea of a way to foster community and allow students that are new to the school see their teachers and staff people. So that's one example, and you can probably think of how you could do something similar. Go back to here. And so I'm going to click on this. Don't click on it yet, but I just want to show you what it looks like when you're going to click on this to leave a response. So when you click on that link, you're going to get to this page and you're going to record a response. And so I just asked you to record a short video where you say hello, and then you can answer one of these prompts that are listed here. Now, as you saw in the video, there are lots of different teacher settings. And so what I did was, for this topic on my grid, because you create a grid and then you can have multiple topics in a grid, I said just allow guests to leave a video response. And so that's how you would do it, just to allow any staff or any family member or a community expert. If you wanted them to leave a video response, you would just change the settings so they don't have to log in. And that's what I did, because I know not all of you have Flipgrid accounts yet. So I just wanted to have guest access so everybody could leave a response. There are also no limits to how many people leave responses. So one of the tools we'll look at today has a limit, but this one does not. As many people as you want can leave a video response. So let me just show you what the camera looks like. If I'm going to click on record a response, I do have to enter a first and last name. But that's it. I don't have to put in an email address. And so now this is the Flipgrid camera. And I have a bunch of options here where I can upload a clip, mirror video, turn off my audio. I can record my screen, so I can actually do a screencast using Flipgrid. We also have a tool available in our toolkit called Screencastify, which allows you to record your screen, but you can also do it in Flipgrid. And then there are a bunch of different effects right here. And so it's more like a social media type camera where you have filters. I have frames. I have emojis that I can, stickers. I can type text. I can draw on here. I can use a digital whiteboard or have a background for the board. And then there's also this fun thing called split screen, which is really interesting. So if I select this board, I can now have it split between myself on the video and then something else could be put right here, whether it's you have some typewritten directions or something, or you upload something else. I haven't played around with that too much, so I don't know total details about how you would use that, but play around with it, or either now or later. And then also just some other, I could upload a photo if I want. So you're going to have time to play around with that camera because you're going to leave a video response. So on this particular slide, slide number 8, you're going to click on Flipgrid to leave your video response. The only other direction I need to give you, and it looks like everyone is muted, you just need to make sure you're muted in the Google Meet. And then you're going to click on Flipgrid and you're going to open a new tab and then leave your video response. So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes or so to leave your video response and play around, maybe 5 minutes. And I'm going to browse the chat right now. So I'm seeing slowly responses come into the grid. So I'm going to go ahead and just start sharing my screen again to show you what it looks like from the teacher side. And so I just went to flipgrid.com and now I'm going to log in with my Google account. And so I'm logging in. So you can see here that I've got a couple of different groups here of grids. So it's in my professional learning group, and then I've got my Say Hello on Flipgrid topic. And so now here you can see all of the responses that you all have left. And so I'm going to find one to share, and I'll make sure. See, I'm going to share yours, Natalie, since it looked like you used an emoji to cover up your face, perhaps. So I found it.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. I found Natalie's video, so I'm just going to click on it.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm starting at Alameda this year as a special education teacher, and this is my dog, Goose. And he likes to sit with me while I'm doing trainings over the summer.
So you can see I can click to go either to the previous video or the next video. And then here I can leave feedback. I can upload or edit a rubric for grading. I can give recorded feedback to Natalie specifically. Go back. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show specifically is Flipgrid now has this AR feature, augmented reality feature, that's sort of fun. I guess they came out with it in February. And so here I am in my grid or my topic. And you can see at the very top of the responses list, I've got a link that says print QR codes. And so if I click on that, it shows here, let me get the print window off. Each person that submitted a video response has this QR code or a barcode. Now, this is what you can do with it. Let me share a video I found. Right here. Let's see. Yeah, let me turn the audio on. Oops, and it's not playing for some reason. Let me try a different video.
Centre de mathématiques. Bonjour les amis, alors j'aimerais expliquer un de nos centres de mathématiques. On a la feuille qui dit estimer, ensuite compter. Alors quand on estime, on utilise.
So you can sort of see, if you look at the screen, you see the QR code in that top picture above the iPad. And so when kids scan that, it's actually going to this teacher giving directions in a French class. And so if I go back to our QR codes, so basically what I could do as an example, if I printed all the QR codes that you all left with your video response, and let's say another part of the assignment I had given you was, I want you to create some artifact that goes with your video. And your artifact, let's pretend like we're back in school in the classroom. Let's say we have a display in the hallway of all of the artifacts that you created. I would then find Frankie's QR code and paste it onto the corner of her artifact, whatever that was. And then if a parent or family member or another teacher has the Flipgrid app on their phone, they can scan that QR code in the Flipgrid app, and then Frankie's video would come up that she left talking about her artifact. So it's just another way to be interactive and to bring families and other staff people and even other students perhaps into the work that you're doing with your kids. So that is a very, very fast run through of Flipgrid. And just also, I'm trying to think of what other features. You'll notice here on the topic, because Flipgrid was purchased by Microsoft, they have a tool called Immersive Reader, which is a Microsoft tool. But whenever you see that little book with a speaker, it will actually, you can click on that and it will play the it'll play the audio directions. It will read it for you. So that's built in. Any quick questions about Flipgrid right now that you want to post in the chat or unmute yourself for?
Quick question, Melissa. How do you see this working with Seesaw?
So, I mean, I would see this as a separate activity that you might link to within Seesaw. What about anyone else? Has anyone else already used this with Seesaw? I mean, my initial thought too is if you're new to Seesaw, that should be the tool you're focusing on, and don't worry about bringing another tool in like Flipgrid. You might want to wait until maybe winter time to do that. I mean, of course, it's always okay if you just want to play around with it and maybe do it as a get to know you, just like I've done with you, where you want kids to leave a video response. But does anyone else have other ideas about Seesaw and Flipgrid and you've used that? Oh, good point, Daniel. Flipgrid makes it easier for students to respond to each other with their recorded messages versus Seesaw.
It's a great opportunity for practicing just oral language and maybe connecting to a book they read or sharing what they worked on with their group. I think the video response allow that language activity, especially for young readers who aren't necessarily writing very well yet, but want to respond if they don't do it through Seesaw.
Thank you for sharing. Samuel, did you have a question?
Oh, I just had another idea for the difference between
share,
Seesaw.
please.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You can put just a link to the Seesaw or your or the Flipgrid onto your Google Classroom, and they can do both. I like Seesaw for more like social media, like showing assignments versus like a book club or something that could be more Flipgrid.
Cool, thanks. So a lot of people are saying you can post the QR code in Seesaw or just the link. You don't have to use the QR code because the QR code is basically a hyperlink. So you could just post the link. And then some people are saying, what was the other thing I saw that I wanted to point out? Now I've lost it. I can't find it in the chat. All right. Well, if I find it, or if it's burning question at the end for anyone, we can come back to it. So I'm going to move on. So the next tool is Jamboard, and this is part of our G Suite of tools that we have access to. So let's watch a brief part of this video.
What's up, world? I'm Mr. Vaca, and today I'm going to give you a basic guide to the Google Apps icon. And then you are going to be able, if you don't see it right up here, the app, come scroll down and then you'll find Jamboard. Once you click on that Jamboard icon, you'll be redirected here to your home page, and you'll have the same kind of format as that you have in Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Sheets. And I've only created one Jamboard. It's right here. It's called Admin Team Test Jamboard. And I just want to give you a quick glance at all the different things you can do here. This is page 1 of 4 pages, or 4 different whiteboards. And to the left over here, you have the different things that you can use to write or erase on your board. Like right here, I have a pen. If I click on the pen, I can then write, hi. It's kind of hard if you have never done it with a mouse before, not gonna lie. But if you click it again, you can change the type of pen. So this one is the second option. Here's the third option. This is more of like an actual dry erase marker. And then the third option is like a paintbrush. Now you can change the colors here if you want to make it, red, green, blue, all that different kind of fun stuff. And then our next icon right here is the erase button. And this just is a simple eraser, and you can, do what you need to do, erase. This is the cursor, so now I want to go between the first and the second slide. If I want, I can now click up here to my next frame. And this is a diagram that another admin team practiced or tried to make with the whiteboard. And here we have a blank frame. and then another blank frame. So if I wanted to go here, and let's say I wanted to clear this board, there's right here a clear frame button, and if you click on that, it completely erases the board so that you don't have to click this eraser icon and do the entire board, because that can take a long time. If you want, you can hit Command Z and undo something that you just did. And this right here is a sticky note. And if you click this icon, you can have a sticky note saying test. Click save, and there it is. Now I want to get out of it. I just hit cancel, and I'm back to the screen. And as you can see here, we have a new yellow sticky note and the blue sticky note. Over here is an image. So if you want to click the add image icon, you can search the web just like you would in Google Docs or Google Slides, or if you have a file on your hard drive or your desktop, you can upload it right through here. So let's say, I click here, I can find the file, upload it. You can also do a Google image search, and I could say tiger, and it will give me pictures of a tiger, and I can click select. It will upload that image to the whiteboard. So if you're doing a social studies project or an art project, you can put the picture up here and you can write comments, like, look at this, dangerous, all that different stuff, clear frame. And now over here you have a background, and you can change the background type of your whiteboard. So if you are a math teacher, you might benefit from using this right here, how to turn it into a grid format, where you can either have students color it in, or if you want to make sure that it looks more uniform, this can help you out a lot. There are other things if you want to have a blue background, sometimes.
Okay, so that's just very easy intro to Jamboard. It's a very simple tool. And like he said, to get there, you would go to the waffle icon on a Google web page, and then you would be able to search for Jamboard. Or you can always type in the web address field, in the URL field, you can type jamboard.google.com, and that will also take you there. And you can see on this slide that I've linked to some lessons and resources for you. And it is just, oops, I went too far. It is just an interactive digital whiteboard. And just to know, in the fall, Jamboard will be integrated into Google Meet. And so you'll be able to just pull up a Jamboard right in your Google Meet, and you won't have to go into a new tab to do that. And so you'll notice on this slide here, I had to create 5 different Jamboards because in Jamboard, there's a limit of 50 people collaborating on one Jam. And so you can see the letters there for which Jamboard you should go to. But I do want to show just a couple of things before you all go into it. So this is my Jamboard, and you'll notice up here, these are the pages or the frames, and you have a limit on the frames as well. You can only have 20 frames. If I click on the little drop-down arrow, it shows me a thumbnail of all the different frames. But I wanted to show this one because you don't have 100% feature parity across all the different platforms using Jamboard. So the Jamboard itself is actually a physical whiteboard that's very expensive. But of course, on that physical Jamboard, you have 100% feature parity, which means all the same features, all of the features that are on the Jamboard, that's exactly what I have. If you have the Jamboard tablet app, so either on an Android tablet or an iPad, you will also have 100% feature parity. Using the Jamboard web browser, which is what we're doing right now, it's only 60% of the features. And then if you're using the mobile app on a smartphone, you have 75% of the features. And I don't know at what point will Google make sure it's 100% across all platforms. But if you're just trying to do some simple brainstorming and mind mapping, you can do that just by going to the web version of the software. So that's the one thing that's cool, is that I don't have $6,000 to buy the physical Jamboard, but I can use the Jamboard software for free. The other thing that's awesome about it is you may notice in the top right corner, it has a big blue share button like any other G Suite app. So I can share a jam with students. I can change the settings so that anybody with the link can edit, which is what I did for this session. Or I can only share it with specific people. So go ahead and go into your Jamboard that you're supposed to go into, since we've got limits on the people that can join, and play around. If you click on the right arrow, it'll just add a frame or go to the next blank frame. Like I have 8 frames here, but if I go past the 8th one, it'll just add a 9th one. So find a blank frame or just join a frame that's free and clear that you can play around and add some sticky notes or features to. And that last tool on the toolbar is a laser pointer. So if you click and hold and just use the laser pointer, it'll alert you to where you want people to look, and then it fades away. But there aren't a lot of options here. Very simple, very basic, very easy to use. So I'm going to give you about 4 to 5 minutes to play around with this tool. And I'll look through the chat here. And I saw that Beth shared a Jamboard that she created in the chat. A lot of people asking about how Mr. Vaca created his instructional video, and he's using a specific software. I'm not sure exactly which software. We do have access to Screencastify, so you can have the little thumbnail of you in the corner while it's recording your screen. So it's very similar to what he did, although he had a bigger version of himself there. One other thing to note is that the backgrounds you have in the Jamboard, they stay static and you can't move them around. If you wanted to bring in an image like a map, I could click on this image button and find a map by searching, but that map isn't pinned down. So kids can move it, kids could accidentally delete it. And you cannot bring anything in from Google Drive right now, or Photos, I believe. And so that's part of the limitation because it's the web browser version. We only have 60% of all the features, but you can search Google image search to find pictures.
So Melissa, you said it's going to be changing, like we'll be able to access Jamboard directly from Google Meets?
Right. So I don't know what it will, I don't know what it will look like, but I'm sure there will be a button or something. Like in the top right, you have your button for chat and everything. There's probably going to be some kind of button that looks like a Jamboard, maybe like the little button up here in the top right corner of my Jamboard screen. And then if you click on that, it will bring up Jamboard in the Google Meet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I am going to put in the chat so you may have heard Google Meet has a bunch of updates coming in the fall. And the link I just put in the chat is a blog post from Google that gives a timeline as to when those features will appear. So some of them aren't appearing until September and October, unfortunately. But there are workarounds. There are Chrome extensions that you can use that can replicate the same things that are being talked about in the blog post there. And so you can see when people join the jam, if they're writing or doing something, you can see their little avatar. It does not have a revision history, however, where you can see what someone specific has done like you can in Google Docs or Slides. And so I don't know that I would necessarily use this often for big groups. I would prefer to use it with smaller groups that was more manageable if you don't want people to be posting things inappropriate or whatever, which can always happen. Of course, that's part of your routine building and norms building at the beginning, but that doesn't mean it still doesn't happen.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Someone recommended that a stylus works really well for writing with Jamboard. I still didn't find that very easy. And then when you click on the mouse, you have to click and then write a letter and then click again. Do you have suggestions for how to make the writing smoother?
No, I don't have any. Okay. There isn't. So as teachers, you all have touchscreen Chromebooks. So you can use your finger on the touchscreen to do the handwriting. There are not very many schools that have touchscreen devices for their students. And so then, like he sort of said in the video, you're then doing it on the trackpad where you're doing handwriting on the trackpad. It does take a bit getting used to. There are some students that I think are already pros at doing that. So I don't have a good solution for that unless you're using like a drawing tablet that's connected to your device like graphic designers use.
So having like a touchpad type thing, iPad or something, and writing on that and logging in, like doing a Google Meet, logging into another session on your iPad to present you writing through the Jamboard. Okay.
Yep, sort of like what I'm doing. Yep, exactly.
Sure. Sure. All right, thank you.
Yep. Sure, Alita.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so if you're using a touchscreen like Chromebook, if you really zoom in on what you're going to write, then it somehow makes it much easier to write without it looking crazy. And then you have to be kind of careful so you can actually access the edges and zoom it back out. But I've found that zooming in and writing and then zooming out is really helpful to making what I'm writing clear.
Good tip, Beth. Thanks. So I'm going to try that right now. I'm going to go like 200% here. Let's try it. I wonder if I can get in even bigger. Looks like 200% is as far as I can go.
And I just use the stylus.
Oh, okay, you're using a stylus, not the trackpad. I'm using a trackpad.
Yeah.
Hey, Melissa, I did the Android app on my phone, and it has where it will change the letters to actual letters.
Yep. So that is, thanks for bringing that up, Mike. How I mentioned before that the tablet apps have 100% features that are included on the Jamboard, and the two things that you have on the apps are auto draw. So I don't know if you've seen Google's auto draw before, but I could start drawing, let's say, a picture of a tree on my Jam, and then at the bottom will populate all of these different tree pictures already drawn for me, and I can just drag the one I want into my Jam. And then you have the text recognition as well, so that I can do handwriting, but then it will convert it into typewritten text. So if you have an iPad or an Android tablet that you want to play around with this more, download the app, it's free, and then you can play around with those extra features. Thanks, Mike. All right. Any other questions about Jamboard? Okay, so I'm going to go back to our slide deck. And we'll move on to our last tool, Padlet. And I think this is probably out of the three, the one that most people are familiar with. It's very popular. It's been around for a really long time. So let's watch a brief part of this video. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here.
With your email address. Once you have signed up, create your first Padlet. The first step is to select a format. I'll select Wall, which packs content in a brick-like layout.
Oops, sorry everybody.
Now it's time to customize your wall. Students don't need to create an account. They can use this code for access and you can personalize it. So this one, we will change to library. And now I'm going to change the title to reading recommendations. Now that the Padlet is ready, let's add post. Begin by tapping the plus icon and type in the box. You can add links, videos, photos, and many other elements to a post. For this one, I'm just going to use Google search to display the book cover. Now that you have a Padlet with a post, you're ready to share with your learners. Share the link or code with your students. This is how they will access Padlet and start.
Okay. So that was a brief intro to Padlet. There's a link there to more videos for you. So this is another digital bulletin board, but it allows you to do a lot more than, let's say, Jamboard, a lot more features. And as you can see on this screen, like she mentioned, you can have many different formats for your Padlet. And then this one I thought was cool. I haven't really played around with the templates much in Padlet, but they have a bunch of templates already created for you. So that's an area worth exploring. So if I click on this link that says Padlet, what I have here is a reflection prompt protocol for you to do as we are nearing the end of our session. But this is just the shelf format where I've got columns and then people can leave posts by clicking on the plus signs. And like she showed in the video, if I click on the plus sign and I click on the 3 dots, I can bring all these different kinds of things into Padlet. I can bring in video, audio, links, I can draw, I can record my screen in Padlet as well. I haven't tested Padlet to do that. Upload any file from your computer. So go ahead and spend a few minutes exploring Padlet, about 4 or 5 minutes, and answer some of these prompts here about 3 things you learned, 2 things you'll share with colleagues, 1 thing you will implement or change because of today's learning. You don't have the plus sign. Ooh, okay, let me go into my settings so you can see I have to go to the gear icon. And so I probably need to change my sharing settings here. Let's see, I don't want approval. Don't see anything about sharing here. Aha, share. Visitors can read. So just to show that again, not the gear icon, but the share icon. And so I'm going to change the privacy to public. Or actually, I'm going to keep it secret and I'm going to say you can write. So save. So go ahead and refresh your Padlet page. Thanks, everybody. And you should now be able to add to the Padlet. There we go. I see people in it already. Yay. And now this is one of the tools in the digital toolkit. So you just need to make sure to log in with your PPS Google account, and then you should have access to the, I guess they're calling it the pro version of Padlet, the paid version of Padlet, because if you were using this tool before and you know you have a free account, if you didn't join a long time ago and you just joined recently, you were limited to only 3 Padlets. But you should be able to make unlimited Padlets since we have a district license. So just make sure to refresh your page so that you can get the editing rights to the Padlet.
Sorry, Melissa, can you repeat refresh what page exactly?
So if you see on the screen this Padlet page, and if you're on that page, then refresh it because I changed the settings so that people could edit.
No, I meant if we had used Padlet in the past and only had the limit on 3, how do we get it so that we have the district unlimited?
Oh, so if you used your PPS account previously, it should automatically register that you're in PPS and you have the new version. But if not, you need to email Padlet.
Thanks.
Yep. What are some ways teachers are using Padlet for their classrooms? Who can share?
Well, I can share. This is Brandy, and I'm a librarian. And I use it more with teachers in collaborating with stories and different pictures or books or research that they need for their K-5 classrooms.
Cool. Anyone else want to share how they've used Padlet?
They're great for making timelines. This is Rhonda. So, because it's got different, the different setups that you can use, and one of them is a timeline, which I've used before, like with some of my kids.
Cool. Thanks, Rhonda.
I'm going to use this for asynchronous learning. I'm going to make a Padlet for students to ask questions, and then kids can like when they have the same question, so I can see really quickly what parts were confusing for a lot of students.
Cool.
I was using this for brainstorm ideas from different students, and then we can collect and eliminate or add new ideas.
Great.
I think that also for maybe some checking and understanding, and maybe right after you initiate a lesson or a unit, or even at the end, it's not a pre-assessment, but maybe checking to make sure that what did I like, even for my planning, that will be useful or not.
Mm-hmm. Great. I've also seen it used as a portfolio, like students used it as a digital portfolio and brought all their work into it. Because again, you can also do video. So sort of like Flipgrid, you can record video of yourself.
Melissa, it's still saying that you can only have 3, and there's no way I can find to email them.
I think there should be a contact link, and I'll double check. I think it's, let me look at right now if I go to it. Question mark about email us. And it's probably going to open my email, and it's hello@padlet.com. And it could be everybody. Let me double check.
So they're just going to get a whole lot of emails from us.
Well, so that's what so don't email them quite yet, because it could be that our contract is not, let me look on the page to see. So actually, let me go on to this page again. If you would like to leave me specific feedback, please click that link and do so. But I'm going to go to the digital toolkit page, which is linked right here. And so these are all the tools that you have access to, and the ones with the asterisks are still being finalized. So Padlet isn't on there yet, but before people start emailing Padlet, I can try to just email them with, I can have our person email and then see if they can find out for our district what's happening with the premium version. So, and then we'll get that information out somehow. But I'll look into that so they're not getting hundreds of emails from PPS. All right, so going back to here, and the last, I have to update my slide deck to give you the attendance code. So just a minute. All right, so to mark your attendance for today's session, the code is actually going to be tools. And if you refresh your page, I'm not going to refresh mine because it'll stop my presenting, but the code is tools with a capital T. I will put it in the chat. Tools with a capital T. And I can stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions. And this is called Creation and Collaboration Tools, the session. So if you have any burning questions that you need to ask in person, you can do that right now. Otherwise, thanks for coming and see you again soon.
Quick question, Melissa.
Sure.
I went to Pepper and it says the training date has not arrived. So I cannot check a box to say I attended.
So are you sure you're in the right session? Because there were 3 of these sessions on Pepper, or 4 of them.
8:17 at 2:30?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
And let me try to go there and see what I get. Anyone else, have you successfully done attendance in Pepper? Right now?
Yes, I was able to do it by just refreshing Pepper.
Okay, so whoever had that question I didn't see, try to refresh.
Melissa, I have a quick question. The Padlet that you created, 3, 2, 1 reflection, are you going to go back in and answer any of those questions? Because I know you have questions on the Google Meet in the chats, but then
right. We will probably, what I was going to do is actually, since in the recording of the Google Meet, it also records the chat. And so we're going to try to develop some kind of FAQ for the questions that we see in the chat. But if you had a question that was in the Padlet, Evan, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yeah, Evan.
Evine, go ahead and ask it right now.
Well, no, I had a question about will parents need to download or get a Padlet? But I know you said earlier that the district is still working out some things with Padlet.
Right. So parents wouldn't have access to Padlet because you have to log in with your PPS account, right? So they could create their own personal Padlet account, but they would have to access with their kids' login if they wanted to see their kids' work, right?
Well, I was only thinking because I'm teaching first grade, and one of the things I wanted to try to do is to have an interactive parent discussion where they can give feedback or comments or questions via Padlet, kind of like what we do during trainings.
Yep. So you could do that. Just change the sharing settings so that they can access, or you can give out the link. So you can have it be unlisted, but then if they have the link, then they can access it. So just like what I did.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Beth, yes, it is fairly new that the chat is also recorded along with the actual meet.
Melissa, last year I saw that in Flipgrid for elementary, they were recommending you get signed parent permission for elementary students to use Flipgrid. Is that something that the district is requiring us to do or we need to do before having students use it?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, technically, I would say that if you're using any of these online tools, you should have some kind of permission form that covers all of these tools, right? So that you would be saying, we're using a different variety of tools, and this permission slip covers the use of online web tools.
Okay, so the district's not putting together anything for us to hand out to parents or to get parents to sign for the digital toolkit tools?
On the PPS Learning Technologies page, there is a sample permission slip that's old that you could use. Otherwise, I don't know, but I am going to write a note down to see if we're going to come up with that, because we are working right now on parent and family virtual orientation resources. So I don't know if that might be included in that, but I'm going to make a note.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Okay.
No, you go ahead.
I'm kind of really quite adamant about trying to figure out a board to write on to have for like teaching writing with advanced language students. They have all kinds of questions that come up where you need to have language frames that can be, you know, language is infinite and you can't really necessarily prepare for every question they have. And being able to write and show them what they need to do while they're expressing language in written form is, to me, it's just, I have to have something. And I've looked into these different kinds of things you can write on. And one of them, like, for example, is Whatcom, Intuos. There's iPad. And I got a whole different setup. I'm not going to use this computer they gave us because it doesn't function for